James Waley, part the third, continuing to answer your letter of September 13th. Today is September 29th. I missed this. I missed answering this part thoroughly enough. I'm a bit confused, though, as to why you would have chosen to do the original artwork on the envelope for Cerebus Archive number 5. Uh, that had a lot to do with the fact that you really have no connection to Dave Sim and no connection to Cerebus. So it was like, well, okay, here's a way to give you a very tentative, um, marginalized connection to Cerebus. Here's a portfolio from, I believe, 2016, talking about the raw materials and my thinking that went into the beginning of Jaka's story, which is now 35 years in the past. So it's one of those, I can't really create a connection between myself and anyone that didn't read Cerebus when it was coming out and hasn't read Cerebus since it came to an end and hasn't read Cerebus in Hell with a question mark. Um, so it was partly that and partly it is an article of faith with me that conversation is to communication what chewing gum is to eating, and that the, contemplating the idea of you visiting, that would be what it was. Um, you would chew gum at me for however long, 45 minutes, and I would chew gum at you for 45 minutes, and we'd really have nothing to show for it because you would promptly forget everything I said, and I would promptly forget everything that you said. This way, um, by giving you a Cerebus Archive portfolio number 5 and number 9, uh, it was okay. This is far closer, in my frame of reference, to communication than chewing gum, um, because it's a permanent record. You now own the introduction to Cerebus Archive number 5, and you own copies of the first 10 pages of Jaka's story, and that to me is communication. Even if you never read them or never actually look at the pages, um, that and archive number 5 and number 9, which we happen to be overstocked on because Diamond never actually ordered Cerebus Archive number 5. Don't know what was up with that, but that's all blood under the bridge, as George said in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Um, so that was from my perspective what I was doing was communicating with you, although obviously you would be more interested in the Northern Vark drawing, um, and I knew that going in. Well, okay, that's two pluses for me by relaying these two portfolios to you. That's genuine communication, and I do like working on the surface of the stay flats, particularly when I've come to the end of an arduous week working on my Strange Death of Alex Raymond page and my page of the Ninja High School Cerebus crossover, and I have some time left over, then it's nice to work on that surface, um, as opposed to working on firm pavement, which is the Strathmore that I draw Strange Death of Alex Raymond and the Ninja High School crossover on, this is like a skating rink. So it doesn't take pencil very well, so you can't do very much penciling. So it's you go straight from penciling into inking, and it's like working on a skating rink. So it's pleasurable in that sense. So those were the two things that I was getting out of it. Okay, that will do it for James Waley Part the Third. Stay tuned for James Waley Part the Fourth. Uh, Coming sometime. We hope soon. Okay, James Waley Part the Fourth. Where are we here? Oh, as for me reminiscing about the Orb #5 cover for Amok, I'll take a pass on that, as I obviously don't have the same recollections about that production as you do. But I'm fine if you want to take it up on one of your video sessions, if you'd like, as long as you cover all the facts, that is. Well, James, it's it's very difficult for me to cover all the facts if you won't give your side of the story. It's This is why I was suggesting. Okay, I don't really have major connections to Orb magazine. Um, I became senior editor uh, after issue 6 came out, which was the last issue. And we were well along on producing #7. Um, so it's uh, I do want to help promote your Kickstarter for the Northern Light when it comes time, and if we can work something out so that you get a variant cover instead of the print that I intended. Um, it's a moment of Cerebus is going to be your target audience, James. It's there's not that many people who will even say Dave Sims' name or Cerebus's name aloud in this day and age, and you know 99% of those people are at a moment of Cerebus. So it does make sense to me to you know uh, why don't you hang around and we'll reminisce about the Orb 5 cover, and reminisce about other things having to do with the Northern Light and Orb magazine, and maybe get the Cerebus fans going, huh? Never heard of this, but that sounds interesting. I got to check this out. So, okay, you write, Gene never, italics, stated to me any, italics, misgivings he might have had about Sue's rendition of his drawing for the cover, although we were all properly dismayed about how it printed up, for sure. Uh, well, that was one of the questions that I had was, um, why didn't you get a match print done of the cover instead of just getting it separated and then giving it to the printer and say away you go, here's the cover. Um, did you get a match print? I know I was using the analogy of the Cerebus #25 cover, which I think had the same structural problem: two primary colors or close to primary colors, and all that it could do was sort of find an unhappy medium between the two of them. But the reason that happened was that at that time we were printing at Southern Duchess Press in Wappingers Falls, New York, because that's where ElfQuest was printing, and we were in the market for a printer. And at that distance, at that time, there was no way that we could stay on a monthly schedule and have match prints sent from upstate New York to Southern Ontario for me to take a look at, and then as would have been the case with number 25, go, no, that's unacceptable. Try again, look at the actual colors, and it's like there would be barely enough time to get a match print here and phone them and say this is a no go or this is a go. But you were doing it. I think I read in here that you were going through Coach House Press, which is in Toronto. So that wouldn't have been a problem. It would have been, here's the cover. Let me know when you have a match print. I'll come down and look at the match print and give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down on it. I am curious about that. I'm also curious about what you remember of the idea of doing this collaboration, that Gene was going to pencil, this really big cover. I mean, it's a huge cover, which I hadn't been aware of. And then, okay, that's Gene's part done. Now it's going to Peter Sue, and he's going to paint it. Had you seen paintings by Peter Sue? I seem to have a recollection that Peter did stuff on Orb. He had one or two things in there, but I think it was black and white strips or an illustration or something like that. Do you remember like seeing paintings of his and being blown away and going, oh, this is really really good. I'll get you to paint the the Electric Warrior cover that Gene Day is going to do. Did you talk to Gene about that? And uh, it's if you said, oh, this guy's a brilliant painter. He's I looked at a bunch of his paintings and they're just gorgeous. And why don't you pencil the cover and I'll get him to paint it. In which case it's like, well, he could have been just out of his depth. I mean, just he did really good paintings, but not these kind of big paintings. Um, Somebody told me, one of the Please Hold for Dave Sim people mentioned that no, it wasn't Bob Peak, it was John. I forget his last name. I can check that one. So I don't know that that's true. I haven't gone to the Wi-Fi place because I haven't really had a call to go to the Wi-Fi place in the last while, and that's on my list of things that I wanted to check. I remember the Towering Inferno movie poster as being an absolute knockout. Um, do I still think it's an absolute knockout? And uh, that would then lead to maybe a further discussion about the Orb number 5 cover. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get Rolly to take some close-ups of the cover. He'll be in tomorrow and back up to Studio Comics Press and just say, can you take really really close photographs and as close a color match as you can with your digital camera of the Electric Warrior figure, particularly the front of the building and the helicopter, because those are really the parts that I'm going, okay, yeah, maybe James is right. Maybe it's a much better painting in person. Uh, well, it's going to be a better painting in person than the reproduction was. But is it actually a good painting that if Coach House Press had just done their jobs properly, nobody would have been complaining about it. So I'm going to wait until I see those photos from Rowley. I'll get him to get Studio Comics Press to print them out on some glossy stock, and look at it and go, well, okay, is it exponentially a better painting than I thought it was, or is it still the same painting that it reproduced as, just not washed out? It's just not a very good painting. So we'll see where that goes on that one. But I would appreciate any recollections. The other thing that occurred to me was, like I say, my strongest recollection about this was Gail, Gene's wife, just being absolutely livid about this, which means that at one point Gene was livid about it. Like you say, he was always very polite and soft spoken, but in the heat of the initial moment, if he really, really hated the painting, he would have made that very, very clear to Gail, and then she would have gone, "Oh, great! Here's something that we can be really, really livid about together," because that was kind of a big thing with Gail particularly. Uh, so thinking about that, I was also thinking about the Orb Party, which was this was after number 6 came out, I'm pretty sure, and it was right when a few weeks after I had been hired as senior editor, and it was the whole Orb gang at a party in Toronto. Gene was there, Gail was there, I was there, you were there. I know that Bill Payne was there. All of the guys. Ken Stacy was there. I'm pretty sure. And I wondered, was Peter Sue there? I mean, is this really esoteric knowledge that you wouldn't have retained since then? And did Gail get introduced to Peter Sue, or did anybody say to Gail, that guy over there is Peter Sue, and what did Gail choose to do about that? Um, so there you go. I think that will cover the Orb number 5 cover uh, over the take us a week or a week or two to get that covered, and then I'd like to move on to other things having to do with Orb magazine, uh, as I'm working my way backward through your letter here, your September 13th letter, and recording this today, October 1st. So there you go. There's a nice cliffhanger, and we will get with you on this and keep moving forward, I hope.